Welcome to American Christian or Christian American. Again, if you've been watching these before, and if you're new to it, welcome for the first time. If you haven't seen my videos before, you might want to consider going back to the first ones where I set a foundation of what I'm talking about. Also, if you would hit that subscribe button, this will help the channel to grow. It will also help you to receive the videos faster. And if you like the video, please hit the like button. It helps the algorithm in YouTube and more people to see it. Today we're going to be talking about the term "In God We Trust" on our money. Now, before I go into that, let's read about what the word trust says. I've got some definitions here. To believe that someone is good and honest and will not harm you, or that something is safe and reliable. Okay? So now we'll go back here a little bit. Another one says believe in reliability, truth, ability, or strength of. An arrangement whereby a person, a trustee, holds property as a normal owner for the good of one or more beneficiaries. A firm belief in the reliability, truth, or ability or strength of someone or something. Okay, so to trust something or someone is to believe in their validity or that they are accurate, or that you can trust them to keep a secret. What we're focusing on in this aspect is the fact that you can trust God, that God knows more than you do. In fact, God knows everything. You can trust God that He has your salvation in His hands, but we have to trust Him by following Him. If we don't follow Him, we don't have trust in Him. So the United States of America has adopted the term "In God We Trust" on our money. And I question that. Do we? You see, if we trust God, then we should be a nation that follows God. We should be a nation that does according to God. Meaning that just like if you have a commander in an army or something, you trust their authority, that they have authority over you. Meaning they tell you what to do in order for the whole group of people to accomplish a task. Or if someone is flying a plane, you trust that they know what they're doing and are going to get you to their location. It wouldn't make sense for a passenger to want to, and never have flown a plane, to want to tell the pilot how to fly the plane. It's saying that you could actually get to the pilot, but just for say, it would be ridiculous of you, although people do, to tell a bus driver how to drive a bus when they've never turned a wheel. It would be ridiculous of you to tell somebody who has an expertise in something, who has studied with it, who has great success with it, and you have never even studied the foundations of it. Well, with God, God is all-knowing. He knows everything. And we are the ones who partook of the fruit of the tree of knowledge and good and evil. It wasn't an apple. It never says that. People just adapted to that, which is another thing of trust. We trusted in the wrong people. Somebody said it, we believed it, but we didn't look for it for ourselves. There is no mention of an apple, and it was only one tree, and that tree doesn't exist anymore. It was there to see if mankind would trust God in what He had in place for them. They trusted Satan and not God. So I know there may be some of you listening here who maybe don't follow God, don't believe in God, but there's still a lesson here to learn for you as well. Okay, so bear with me. The idea that the nation trusts in God. So even if you're not a person who believes in God, let me say this, that if you understand anything about the Bible, to which people who are called themselves Christians are supposed to be believers in, it talks about Jesus telling us that we are supposed to care for the poor, we're supposed to care for other people, we're supposed to show his love and care for others. So if people claim to be Christians, they should not be hateful people. They should not, I mean, there may be things that people are doing wrong, and yes, they should speak about it, but not in a hateful way. But what we have today is people trusting in Christian nationalism, which Trump is one of the leaders of, or he's backed by many Christian nationalists, and they are taking away the benefits of food to people, trying to take away their health care, trying to make the rich richer. And so, if you understand anything about the Bible, whether you believe it or not, those people who claim to be Christians, and I'm not saying all, but I'm saying especially those that contributed to Christian nationalism, are not trusting in God. And so the phrase on our money, in God we trust, is a lie. Now, it is a good concept for us to trust in God, but the people of this nation, in a majority, do not trust in God. Now, I'm not saying that people are going to be perfect. We can't be perfect because we're infallible. We're going to make mistakes. We will be perfect when we're taken from this world. If we are going home with God, we will be made perfect. But in this lifetime, we will never be perfect. But it's the idea, do we continuously turn to God for the answers? Do we continuously, even though we fall and we stumble, get up and try to pursue God with the answers? And what I would say is that so many people who claim to be Christians in this country, in this world, but especially in this country, do not trust in God. They simply say trust in God. But what they want you to trust in is a collaboration between the Constitution and the Scriptures. Well, when you collaborate the Constitution with the Scriptures, the Constitution, so to speak, wins out, or hatred wins out. You see, God cannot be part of something that is full of hate, full of anger, and it seeks to injure people. God is seeking to restore us. Now, granted, not everybody will be restored. Why? Because just like in the beginning, God gives us all a choice. So we can choose whether to follow God or not to follow God. We can choose whether we're going to listen to the love of God and share that love with other people, or we can share hate with other people. We can also follow his plan knowing that he knows best, or we can tell God what our plan is, which is what this country has done. They have twisted the word of God and used it as a way to draw people in and created a lie. You see, when we tell God what we think should be done, it's a lie. After all, we are the ones who fell away from God. We are the ones who didn't know better. We are the ones who sinned against God. We're the ones who make a mess of everything that we do. And so how can we tell God how it should be done? When, quite frankly, the people who I'm talking about don't really care about God, or they care about him loosely, but they are too willing to listen to other people who don't care about God. You see, from the beginning of Constantine interfering with the church and befriending the church, because he saw great power in the movement towards Christ, and began to influence it, and rise of Catholicism, and really the rise of a type of Christian nationalism, we have been going astray. We've always been going astray, but I'm talking about a different way. We have taken the church and created it to be something politically involved. We say that we worship God, we say that we trust in God, but we twist his word to mean something else. So for those of you who don't believe in God, I'm telling you that perhaps, or don't believe in this Christian nation, which I understand because they're not following God, I want you to know that if you are to turn down God, please consider that what they are doing is not godly, or is not Christianity, or is not what being a believer of Christ is. What being a believer of Christ is to spread his word. Yes, it's about morality. Yes, it's about loving God. It's about caring for others. It's about the group, worrying about other people rather than yourselves, and not singling out people because of the differences. But see, it goes way beyond that. It goes beyond a lack of self-esteem. It goes to a greed and need for power and control and domination, which human beings have had since after we sinned. Power, Cain and Abel. There was a lack of self-esteem because he wasn't doing what God asked him to do. Yes, he grew crops, and Abel grew or shepherded flocks. Well, what could Cain have done? Because God required an animal sacrifice. He could have bartered with Abel with some of his crops for a lamb to sacrifice to God. But instead, he became enraged and he killed his brother. So instead of following God, he took it upon himself to do what he wanted to do. And we've been doing it ever since. And nations who go after this greed and power because they satisfy this need of feeling inadequate. Because when we're not with God, we are completely inadequate. When we're not loving other people, having good feelings in our heart, we are inadequate. We are not complete. So people fill it with a need for power and greed. Okay, so today, what we led up to since Catholicism created Christian nationalism, and although there were many reform movements, they did not reform the idea that Jesus was white, because he wasn't, and that white people were first, because they weren't. In fact, we have not dealt with the fact that Europe, in of itself, for the most part, was illiterate. Didn't even have good bathroom habits or anything else. They were basically in the Dark Ages, so to speak. And I'm not talking about the official Dark Ages, but they really didn't have anything. They gained things when the Moors, a very dark-skinned people, and later on they called them white, but they weren't. Before the 12th century, they were referred to as a dark-skinned people, referencing them close to Ethiopian skin tones, which were some of the darkest in the world, and now they have spread out from Ethiopia to other lands as well, and reddish tone. They conquered Spain and they began to teach all these people. Also evidences to the fact that they were here in America before the Europeans and bartered and traded with the Native Americans. And perhaps even some of these people before that were descendants from these people. Many of African Americans today, even though they can't trace their lineage as well, it's difficult, probably descend from many of the Moors, which were an intelligent, civilized, yes, they were conquerors, but I mean civilized in the way that they had a society with education, they had sciences, they were well organized. And when they conquered Spain, yes, they were conquerors, but they brought education to Europe. They set up over 17 universities. We've talked about this in other episodes. So they educated Europeans. But we, in turn, after 700 years of occupation, overthrew the Moors, and I'm talking about the Spanish, but we, I say, as Caucasian people, not white, because I've said it many times before, I'll say it again, this is white, I'm not. I'm a light brown-skinned man. Caucasians are light brown-skinned people. We are all brown-skinned people, just different ends of the spectrum, either very light or very dark or somewhere in between. So we're all part of the same family. But Europeans overthrew the Moors, and then it was the doctrine of discovery from Catholicism, which allowed so-called Christians to invade and take other lands. If the landowners were not Catholic or Christians, then, and also it led to slavery. So we took away their infrastructure. We took away their all their learnings that we had gained from them, and then we called them inferior. And throughout history, with the many different inventions, The white person claimed and was recorded as the inventor, when in actuality, many inventions were actually invented by African Americans, or at least, at the very least, were strongly influenced or were part of the team, but got no credit. So, again, when we say in God we trust, but we have to write our own ideas that are contrary to God, we don't trust in God. That symbol on that money is a lie in the hands of many people. And it is a lie as a nation as a whole. There are individuals within this country who do trust in God. Not perfect, but they do trust in God. But this nation as a whole is not a godly nation. And even though Christian nationalists say it should be, and they say under them it would be, it is not and will not be under them because they do not trust in God. It is impossible to be for Christ when you tell God what to do, or when you lie about history, when you lie about who the first people were, when you lie about superiority that you don't have, because you are not God. You are going against his word. When you lie that Ham was cursed and turned black. First of all, there is no mention of the skin pigmentation change. And second of all, the curse was upon Canaan, not Ham. And Ham is the one who saw his father's nakedness, Noah. So scriptures can be twisted, and then people who don't study for themselves just believe it. Racism in this country has been justified through Christian verses, which have been taken out of context and twisted. The slave Bible, which had many, many things taken out that would encourage slaves about freedom and everything else, and only the scriptures that would teach the slaves to obey their masters were retained. Those people did not trust in God, but we're no different today. When we have a nation and we try to say we trust in God, in the opening clips, you saw compared the cross with the flag. I'm sorry, they are not compatible. The cross and the flag are two totally different directions. The United States is not a Christian nation. The United States is not following the path of God. You can only go one way or the other. Now, a Christian living towards God can live in America and do certain things, but there are so many ideals of America that are not Christian, even though they will try to say they are. And again, they will twist the meaning of the Bible in order to justify it. When it says, in Trump we trust, or, God is my God and Trump is my president. Again, they're trying to tie the two together. When Trump lies about everything that comes out of his mouth, he would make Satan blush. Satan is the father of lies, but Trump would make Satan blush. He lies about every single thing. He is dishonest. He seeks power and control. He cares about nobody. Look at what they do when they take away health care for other people. Look at what they do when they take away the opportunity for food, or use SNAP, a way for families to have food, as a bargaining chip in order to take away health care. So they do not trust in God, and do not for a minute believe the words that come out of their mouth. Mike Pence is also a Christian nationalist, maybe not as bold as some of them, but he still is. Mike Johnson. And then, you've got Marjorie Taylor Greene, which has resigned from Congress, or is in the process of resigning when I made this clip, and then she retakes it back. So I make these clips ahead of time, but that was what was going on now. But Trump and J.D. Vance, none of them who claim God at all are following God. They use God's name in vain. When you say you're using God's name in vain, yes, cursing, yes, when you drain it of meaning, but also when you say that you are following God and you are going against God at the same time, you are using God's name in vain, because you're divulging it or draining it of any type of holiness or superiority. See, the only thing that's superior is God. We are not superior. And if we continue to drain God of his superiority and claim that we are superior, we are not. Now, if anybody would be superior, and they're not, it would be black people. And when I say they're not, because God created all people. But they were the first. They were the founders of civilizations. They taught us. So if there is somebody who's superior, it would be them, not us. But the fact is that none of us are superior. We are all part of God. We all live in our time, and we have all been given gifts. But white people need to stop. See, it's a self-image problem. The only way I can feel good about me is if I shove somebody else down and I have somebody else to look down upon. But instead, look at what God has given you. Learn to love others and use your gifts and be on the same level as other people. Now, I'm not talking about varying intelligence levels. Yes, there's very intelligent people amongst African Americans. There's very intelligent among Caucasians and all other people. But even then, you're not superior to somebody else, because we all have gifts to share. When will we trust in God? When will that term on the money actually be accurate? I believe there are people who could hold the currency in their hand and truly say in their lives, in God we trust. But I do not believe that this nation can ever be called something that trusts in God, because there are always people who seek after their own power and own greed. Capitalism is a way for great power. It is no better than communism, because in both systems, the rich and powerful control what's going on. Now, some free market ideas and some capitalistic ideas mixed in with common sense rules and concern for other people to balance things out, that can work. But pure capitalists want all the hands and control in the rich and powerful. It has always been about that. And even with poor whites, get this with poor whites, is that you were also the victims of rich people. They only started to include you because they wanted you to think, well, I'm better than black people because I'm white, so they could keep the power they had. Because if poor whites join with African Americans and other marginalized groups, we can defeat them. But the question is, will you? Oh, you sit here like a child who's been manipulated and taught to believe the ridiculous. And while you remain poor and marginalized yourself, you will look down upon somebody else. Aren't you tired of it? Or are you still okay with living in ignorance and living under the foot of the oppressor, the rich and powerful, who use you as a tool to crush others? Until the next time on American Christian or Christian American.